Um, Tonight, what I wanted to talk about is, Ravelry is the king, right? All the patterns that are anything are on Ravelry. And it seems like all of the designs and the designers that were putting out really great stuff before Ravelry, their stuff just doesn't get looked at. And, I was looking at some of the things that are my favorites in my wardrobe, and a lot of them are from designers that were, in the early 2000s and, up until like 2008. So I thought it would be really fun to look at some of those patterns that you've probably never seen, probably never heard of, that I knit a long time ago that I still absolutely love and wear all the time. Because it's always fun to find a new and different pattern, isn't it? So that's what we're going to do tonight. I have 10 designs for you. And the last one is probably my most favorite sweater I've ever knit, or at least one of them. And it's certainly one of the ones that gets the most comments when I wear it. So I'm excited to share these with you. Hi, Donna. How are you? Hey, Gwen. Hey, Holly. Nice to see you guys. I'm so glad you could be here. Okay, so the first project that I wanted to share with you is this one that I'm wearing right now. This is called the Ceville jacket. And it's interesting because this is probably one of the first ones where I realized that my body was not like the pattern. Okay. So I'm going to show you here on Ravelry. So this is the pattern. This is the Seville jacket. It's super cute. And I think I did a class on this back in 2008, and everybody that knit this fell in love with this white, elegant jacket with the pearls. And it was just so beautiful. And, we all knit it. Thing about it is when I knit it, it was a bolero. I didn't realize how long-waisted I was. So that was a super helpful thing for me. I didn't necessarily learn my lesson with that pattern, but it definitely sort of put that out there. So that pattern is available on Ravelry, as you can see. And the nice thing about it is that it's available in 3 different gauges. So you can knit that in a DK weight gauge, you can knit it in a worsted weight gauge, and I knit it in a bulky gauge. The yarn I used has been discontinued. It's Noro Curion, but Noro Rika is similar enough with that sort of fluffy bit that you absolutely could do this sweater in that yarn. So that would be really cute. Okay, so the next one that I wanted to share with you is called Secret Garden. And this is a little vest that I knit a long time ago. And I'll show you the pattern. Let's bring that up here. Oh, where is it? I had these all in order. Here we go. So this is Secret Garden, and this is designed by Joan McGowan Michael. And I used to love her stuff. She is famous for being very mindful of women with a large bust. So she's the one who designed a lot of the sweaters that introduced the concept of short row shaping for your bust line. So this is one of those garments that I knit a long, long time ago. Here's a picture of me wearing it. You have to promise not to laugh. But yeah, I knit this in 2008, and I think I still wear it now. I have a different blouse, but yeah, I still wear that. So let's see. Hey, Phyllis. Hey, Jal. Hey, Arlene. Hi, Susie. The jacket is great. Yeah, definitely you can get it. You probably have something in your stash that you could use for that Seville jacket. Holly. Yeah, absolutely. So fun. So that is Secret Garden Vest. And this is knit. I used a worsted weight yarn. I think it's the gauge is something like, here, let me check real quick. The gauge, I believe, is 3 3/4 stitches to 1 inch. So you can use like a heavy worsted or a light bulky for that, and that would be just perfect. I'm looking over here to make sure I close those out. Okay, and the next one, I know many of you have seen me knit, have seen me wear this many times, and I talk about it all the time, every time the topic of um, Rowan creative linen comes up, because it is a sweater that I knit in, let's see, when did I knit that? I knit that in 2011. Let me show it to you here. This is a free pattern on Nitty, and it's called Petri. Super cute little pattern. Um, you can see that it has this kind of a boat neck. When I knit it, I pulled that boat neck forward so that it was more of kind of a drape front or a cowl, which I really like. But you can see I knit that in 2011 and I wear it all the time. It's such a great pattern. And honestly, I'm going to say it again. This yarn washes and wears like a dream. You look at this fabric up close, you know, that's maybe not the best, but honestly, believe me when I tell you, it has not a single pill on it. It wears like iron. It is absolutely the most wonderful yarn, most hard wearing yarn. I absolutely love it. So that's a pattern from Knitty. And I was thinking about it today, how Knitty used to be the only online source of patterns. And they would come out, I guess, once a quarter. And it was a big deal to get your pattern accepted in Knitty because, being on the internet, it was so widely distributed. So it was a big deal to have a pattern accepted on Knitty. And they continue to offer their patterns there for free. So wonderful stuff. Tell me in the chat if you've ever knit anything from Knitty, or if you even know what Knitty is. Oh, yes, Jal, you did one of those, didn't you? Right? Absolutely. So fun. Such a great pattern. It's such a perfect yarn for it. Um, that design is knit in pieces and seamed. I went ahead and did it in the round, and I wish I hadn't because it does bias just a smidge. But all right, moving on. This next one is Petra. Okay, you have seen me wear this many times. I've actually done 2 versions of it. I'm going to bring up the picture of Petra as a garment. Let's see if I can find it here. Thought I had all these things up. Oh, well, maybe I don't. Okay, so Petra is super cute. It's a Coco Knits, and this was a Coco Knits design before Coco Knits was doing Coco Knits as we know it today. But it always has been a very, very cute design with these points down the front. Like Emma, it's knit at a gauge of 3 stitches to the inch. And this is a version of it knit in a very bulky yarn that would normally knit at 3 stitches to the inch. I did another one, and if you look at the pattern on Ravelry now, you'll see that she shows it in a fine yarn, almost like that. Do you remember that Noro yarn that's the linen and the paper, Asaginu? It's almost like that. And it looks completely different. It looks very modern, very pretty. And like I said, I knit one again in that finer weight yarn. I know I have a picture of that. I knit one in that finer weight yarn, and it really is very pretty and very modern. Let's see. I think the picture that I wanted to show you, I ended up using on the, yeah, I must have closed that. I'm sorry. But I used it on the thumbnail for this video. So you can go back and you can see that there's a picture of me wearing, it's white, and I have sunglasses on in the picture. So that's very fun. Let's see, Gail. I'm glad you like it, Gail. Okay, so I am going to try and find that. So give me a minute. All right, so the next one is not that. I'm not ready to show that yet. Okay. Where did it go? Oh. Okay, many of you have seen me wear this, and this is definitely one of my more favorite sweaters. I'm a big fan of Chris Bylsma. Chris does not travel to teach anymore. Now she just does knitting cruises. But when she was in her heyday, she came to the shop many times, probably 5 or 6 times. She's absolutely a wonderful designer, and she's such a fun person. She's beautiful, and she's creative, and she's just so friendly and fun and approachable, and she loves yarn, and she loves helping yarn stores. So what she found was there were yarn stores that had so much fingering weight cotton on their shelves. And at that point, they couldn't move it. They didn't know what to do with it. So she designed a pattern that was intended to help yarn store owners move fingering weight cotton. And that garment is called Solo. Let me share that picture with you here. Okay, so this is Solo, and I love this garment so much. I did mine, and you can see mine down here below. I did mine in a pink silk, but everything about this garment is just so beautifully thought out and carefully constructed. So it's worked in a 4-1 rib, most of it, except for this central panel, which has some decreases and yarn overs that make like a little lace. It's not actually a cable, but it looks like a cable. But the beauty of it is that she brought that cable all the way up at the neck, and you can just see how, let's see full screen here. Can you see how beautiful that neckline is? The design of this just rolls over, and it makes a perfectly clean edge there at the neckline, which is absolutely continuous with the other portion of this center panel. It's just beautiful. And that little bit of ribbing, like I said, 4-1 rib, gives it enough stretch that it fits just right, but it's not too, it's not too tight. It doesn't pull at you or anything. And the other thing I love about this is that she used an applied I-cord around the armhole, and that gives also a beautiful finish. It's very, very clean looking. There's mine hanging in the shop. And as I said, I know you have seen me wear this many, many times. I did mine a little bit differently. If you got this pattern and you wanted it to look more like mine, I cut in the sleeves. Okay, I often do that because I like this angled line from armhole kind of up. I just find that's really flattering on my particular body shape. So I cut that in, and I have the notes in my Ravelry project. So if you're interested, and I think I took it till it was about 12 inches. That's sort of my number for what I like my width to be up there. I took it in, and I also made it a little bit longer because Chris, like most designers in those days, Chris designed for herself, and she said, I'm a medium. I just decided. So she would design one for herself, and then she'd design a size down and 2 sizes up. And she's very short-waisted, so all of her height is in her legs. So I always had to make whatever garment I was making from a Chris Bylsma design. I had to make that a little bit longer. Not too long, because this is a summer top and you want it to not hang down, but it really is a pretty, pretty garment. You work that neckline up and around, and then seam it in the back and seam it to the shoulder. So it's just a very elegant, an elegant piece. I think I need to make another one. I think maybe Summer Light 4-ply would be the yarn that I would use for that, and that would be absolutely perfect. Okay, what is next here? Okay, this one. This is just, honestly, the picture does not do this project justice. It is a top-down wrap sweater, and I think it's gorgeous the way it fits. I never wear mine like that. In fact, this one that I'm going to show you, I didn't even put a hole in it to wrap that strand around, and I didn't put the strings on it because I just never wrap it. I just kind of leave it open. But it's a super easy project, and it's a very, very flattering design because it has that kind of drape front without being sort of in your face. Let's see. This is my version. I knit this in 2011, so more than 10 years old, and I still wear it all the time, and I still get a ton of compliments on it. Here it is in a discontinued color of Silk Garden um, Light, Silk Garden Light, which is their DK version of Silk Garden, and it's been hand washed many times, and it is so soft. I love Silk Garden as a fiber. It really does. A lot of people feel that Crayon is a little bit scratchy, or a lot of Noros can be a little scratchy, but for some reason, I find that Silk Garden is just very, very soft, especially if you've washed it a bit. And we have a color of yukata that would be just perfect in this. So anyway, you can see how that the front angles and gives you a little more width around. And it's just very flattering and attractive when you wear that. Every time I wear that, I get a lot of compliments. And I don't know whether it's the design or the colors of the Silk Garden, but that is a beautiful, easy project. And again, Silk Garden Light is a DK weight. The pattern is written for worsted. You can knit it in either of those gauges. I knit another one that I accidentally felted in the machine in a kind of an aqua color, very pretty. That was my first one. So you can do it with pretty much anything in that sort of mid weight range yarn. Let's see. Hey, Polly. Yeah, absolutely. You can always catch these later. It's sort of fun to be live, but it's not necessary. I know I have a lot of people who email me and tell me that they don't watch live because they're in other parts of the world, and that is totally okay. Okay. This one is kind of fun. This is called Gloria. And this is probably the first pattern I did with a little bell sleeve. And I do love this very much. Interestingly enough, this was one of the first patterns that I knit before I guess I did carry Noro at the time, but I also carried another Japanese line of yarns from a company called Dancing Fibers, and this is worked in that Dancing Fibers yarn. Basically what this is, let me bring the picture up for you. Projects. Come on now. Hope I have this here. Yes, here we go. All right, so this is the Gloria cardigan. You can probably see it better here. What they've done is, this is Jane Ellison, who designs for Noro, or used to design for Noro. She was the first designer to take over after Debbie Bliss. I think she was Debbie Bliss's assistant, and she started working with Noro to design for them, and they realized that she just absolutely got it in a very strong way. So she started designing all of the books for Noro. And back in the day, this is how you got your Noro patterns. There wasn't a magazine, but there was a book, a pattern collection for each of the new yarns. So this is worked with the body, kind of the most of the cardigan, in kind of a smooth worsted weight wool. And then up here at the bodice, it's worked with 2 rows of your Noro or your Dancing Fibers here, any kind of color shift yarn, and then 2 rows of the base yarn. So, but not worked such that you see the individual rows. So it's worked kind of on the wrong side. So what you see is where the yarns blend, and then the sleeves are all in that stripe. So it's really a beautiful sweater. I knit this. Let's see, when did I knit this? It doesn't say, but I have a picture. Oh, okay. This is a picture of me wearing this sweater, holding my son, Colton, and he is going to be 22 years old in May. So that's how old this sweater is. Isn't that funny? He'd probably kill me if he knew I was showing that picture. I better get rid of it, huh? So let me show you real quick that fabric. So this is what I'm talking about. Do you see how um, if you were looking at it on the other side, you would have a very clear one row of your base yarn, one row of your contrast yarn. But when you make the other side the right side, it blends so nicely. So that is a really great sweater. Like I said, I knit that so long ago and I still love it and I still wear it all the time. And I still get a lot of compliments on it. And the bell sleeves are still beautiful and incredibly impractical, but I do love them. Okay, Polly says she has that book. Yay! Because Polly's been knitting with me for that long. Isn't that great? Okay, let's see. This is number 8. And this one is another one by Bylsma. This is called Chutes and Ladders. And this is a cardigan. Let me see if I can bring the pattern up. I thought I had it. And it has cables, but in between the cables, you have a couple purl stitches, which you drop at the end. And I don't know if any of you remember the popularity of that clapotis sweater, but it's the same kind of concept. So here it is on a mannequin. This is my sweater on a mannequin in the old shop, right? I'm pretty sure I did let that be a feature. And here is the pattern that Chris designed. So she did hers in a slightly heavier weight cotton, something equivalent to a Rowan hand knit cotton. I did mine in a DK cotton silk blend, but I think they're both beautiful. And this is one of those sweaters that when I wear it to events that have a lot of knitters there, especially yarn store owners, they always stop me and ask me what the pattern is because it's so pretty and it's so different. And you're just not going to see that pop up on your Ravelry feed, right? But it is definitely worth seeking out. It's a great summer sweater. It doesn't feel hot because it's so open right here. And although it's worked on a small-ish needle, it does go really fast because it's so fun. These the cables are ribbed, and then when you do the actual cable twist, you're not ribbing it. It's worked in stockinette, which gives it a little bit of bulk right there, which is really, really pretty. And I opted not to do these knitted joins. I just put a clasp there, but this would be a perfect spot for jewel buttons. So nice. So I love that one very much. Yeah, so don't be afraid to play a little bit with the gauge. If you would like something a little bit lighter and a little bit looser, that's okay. You can absolutely do that. And I think sometimes it looks even better. All right, so the next one I wanted to share with you is one, and I will tell you, here it is. I am generally not a fan of this brand of patterns. These are drops designs, and all of the patterns are free, which is very nice, but they are the kind of pattern, that assumes a lot of knowledge. They'll say something like, shape sleeve as follows, and it just gives you sort of broad instruction. And there's the assumption that pretty much how to make a sweater, and they're just giving you the specifics for how to do this particular version. That being said, it's a beautiful design. It's kind of an A-line, and it's got this 3/4 sleeve. It's knitted a gauge of 3 stitches to the inch, which I just love. And it's very pretty, and it was really popular in its day. I did it in a yarn that is now discontinued. I did it in Rowan felted tweed bulky. There's a picture of me wearing it when I knit it back in, heaven knows. Let's see, when did I knit that? 2012. So there it is in 2012. And I know there's a picture of me wearing it this Christmas. So there I am wearing this Christmas. So you know that I knit that and I wear it all the time. But it's, it is a good project. And like I said, I like it. I did something a little funky, I think, with the collar because every time I put it on, I feel like one side of the collar isn't quite right. So I think I might have to fix that. This pattern is called, Donna asked what this pattern is called, um, Silver Haze. Okay. Pretty sure it's linked in the, yeah, I'll put this link in the chat real quick so you guys can have it. Yeah, very, very pretty, but a little bit, you know, you want to get in there and make sure that you know what you're doing before you just start knitting from it. But it's a really good looking sweater. I made mine a little bit longer, and you know, now I almost wish that I hadn't. I mean, I still like it and I still wear it. Perhaps I'll do another one in a current yarn, maybe a Noro, and or maybe brush fleece and make it the normal length. I was sort of burned after some of those sweaters that I did that were so short that I started making everything a little bit too long. I wasn't thinking about, hey, I should measure. So there you go, right? Um, we do. We live, we learn, right? But that is a pretty one. And the last one that I want to share with you, honestly, I love this sweater so much. I taught a class in it, and it's just beautiful. I don't know what it is about the sweater that I like so much, whether it's the fabric or the shape or both, but I know that you have heard me say that. So it is this pattern, and it is called the Essential Cardigan. And it first appeared in a magazine called Interweave. Is Interweave still around? Are they still publishing Interweave? I don't even know. But yeah, so it's a really pretty sweater. It's a cardigan. It's got this wonderful broken rib, and again, the details on it are just beautiful. I I wear it all the time. You've seen me wear it many times, and I have it here to show you. So this is a sweater that is knit at a gauge. Let me look real quick, make sure I've got it correct. Gauge is, yeah, DK weight gauge. So 22 stitches over 4 inches. And I used a fingering weight yarn carried with a strand of Kid Silk Haze. And it's a beautiful fabric. It's not see-through at all. It feels light. It's got a wonderful drape. And that's just an example of sort of why I like Kid Silk Haze carried with things so much. Because had I knit this at this gauge with just the fingering weight yarn, it would have been floppy. It would have not been it wouldn't have been opaque. It wouldn't have been a solid, cohesive fabric. But again, this is wonderful. It's a V-neck, and it's kind of got a little bit of a double-breasted feel. So I guess that's just where I put the buttons. All right, buttons there. So you see that? You can't see that. I put the buttons off to the one side of the ribbing a little bit, but I just love this. It's a 3/4 sleeve, and it's just wonderful, and it's my favorite color. So, and I finished that. When did I knit that? Let's see. I knit that in 2012. So I remember teaching a class on it. I remember Heidi took that class with me and several others. And I taught it in the old shop. So I didn't even have the new shop yet. So yeah, 2012 was when I knit that. And 12 years later, it's still one of my absolute favorite sweaters. So, oh, thank you, Donna. I'm glad that you like them. So when you're looking on Ravelry for a pattern, don't just look at your feed. Maybe go and look at some some designs from probably not the 40s, but start looking at things that were published around 2000 because that's sort of when knitting began to get popular again and began to get I don't know, a more modern take on things. So look for those designs that maybe aren't brand new. And I think you'll find that there are some beautiful classic designs in there. And if they're in a book and you love them, probably worth looking it up. I'm sure you can find many of these books available on the secondary market for, pennies, a lot of them. They're being sold in used bookstores. You can get them for almost nothing. And I think you'll really like it because there's something about those patterns that were written a long time ago. They're really more vetted because you the beautiful thing about Ravelry, as I always say, is that with Ravelry, anyone can be a designer, right? You just have to design something and put it out there. And there's really nobody to vet that until you have a few people knit it and have a great experience with it or a not so great experience with it. But back in the day, all of those patterns kind of had to be vetted. They were professional designers that were doing them, and there were publishers that were accepting them, and there were copy editors that were making sure there weren't mistakes, and there were pattern drafters that kind of looked at fit and all of those things. So I'm not saying that the patterns written today are bad because a lot of them are wonderful, but I think a lot of the patterns from before Ravelry, when there was just such a low barrier to entry, a lot of those patterns are overlooked, and it's a mistake because they're beautiful, they're classic, they're well written, and they fit well. So let me know in the chat if you're watching this later, if you have knit a sweater from more than 10 years ago, what it is and what you like about it. So until next time, keep knitting and create something beautiful. I'll see you next week.